Okay, we are here with the fabulous Beth Moore. Gio just called her a unicorn, which I think might be an accurate description. So we're looking forward to this conversation. We're going to make her blush because she may not think of herself as that way. But Beth, I pulled up your LinkedIn profile. I mean, you've been doing this for a while. So your current role, which I do want to dive into, is head of strategic growth at Raise, but you've done Colliers, you've done WeWork, agile real estate practice leader at CBRE, and you were at CBRE for 8 years. Jones Lang LaSalle was kind of where you got started, and FactSet. My husband used to be a research analyst. He used to use FactSet. I know, too funny. I was like, oh, I know FactSet. Anyway, so yeah, you're like an OG. You go way back in sort of, flex office, agile workplace strategy type stuff. So we're excited to, and okay, which conference did you speak? Was it New York?
Now I'm trying to remember.
I know. I can't remember either.
She has so many speaking engagements, she doesn't even remember.
I'm sure, totally.
No, it's been a while. I think it was in Texas.
Oh, it was in Texas. Okay, so that must have been Austin. I think that's probably right.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a while ago. I know. Wait, so that was CBRE days, right? Before you went to WeWork. The before period. Yeah.
The before.
Okay, very cool. I mean, those were exciting times.
I guess we'll call it.
Yeah. Okay, I don't want to sidetrack us too much, but she is working at Chief, which I am so interested in their model. Can you just tell us a little bit about Chief and being a member? And they don't have that many physical locations. So they have, right, because you're kind of a proponent, and I see you post, like you host events there, and I can see it in your background today for those watching on YouTube.
Isn't that beautiful?
So a little bit of a tangent, but related. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
I think it's related because we're talking about amazing, flexible experiences, amenity-rich environments that people want to go to. So I've been a member of Chief since November. I almost joined in 2020, but had a third child, so that kind of put things off. And then there were some other things going on in a pandemic.
So, yeah.
So I joined in November. The whole mantra around Chief is to connect female executives really together in a network that is special to this specific genre of talent, that is another place to get counsel, to bounce ideas off of, to create your own personal board of directors, and hopefully tackle some of the leadership challenges that they're facing in what can sometimes be a primarily male-dominated area. Like the closer you get to the top, the more male-driven it is. So it's an opportunity for women to connect to each other, to build these bonds. It's been incredible. The very first entry into Chief, you get a core group. So you get matched with, 8 to 10 women that are from your general life stage and location, and you connect. You go pretty deep. Like I was a crier on the first meeting. I don't know if that's unique to me, but I did. And so you kind of break down barriers and build this connection. It's amazing. They have a lot of programming, so both virtual and in person. So I try to make it a point wherever I'm traveling. Our Raise locations have to be in Chief cities, so I get to go and experience these amazing workplaces, and then also join meetups, which are different topic-led discussions that are bringing people together. So their physical locations are in Chicago, LA, San Francisco, New York, and London, but it's a community everywhere. And as you know, community is driving the conversation. So more and more important to connect and be purposeful about my time down here.
I love it. So you're just hanging out there working today and recording a podcast with us. Cool.
Yeah, I love it. I try and come down. I'm making it a more of a point to be in here once a week.
Very cool. I know. I find I need to schedule. Like this week, I have no days in the co-working space. And I was like, I have to put it on my calendar so that I organize myself to be able to get out of the house and go do it. Which makes you think about some of the challenges with operating a space and human behavior and all those things. Anyway, okay. Thank you for sharing that, because I think some of our listeners will be curious about that model.
That's Jamie's way of trying to get someone from Chief on her podcast. So if you know anyone,
Oh, you should
look
do
her up.
that. Totally.
I know where you were working.
You should get Chief for the GWA conference too. We have to figure out how to beat Liz's lineup. So anyway.
It's about collaboration, and that's the exciting part.
Totally.
I think there's a lot more new dynamic people in the space, right? I think there's a lot of OGs, like you said, but I mean, I think there's new people, but also there's more people that are getting involved that, I mean, like Regis traditionally hasn't needed to be involved, right? And so they've avoided it. And so finally, they've kind of joined in, and then hadn't been involved for a long time, right? So I think this is kind of a good segue into the conversation, but I think some of these bigger groups felt like they didn't have to participate in GWA or Juicy or any of this stuff because they were big to need to really share their secret sauce, which I think we all know there is no secret sauce, right? The people are the secret sauce, not the business model. And so, I mean, Beth, you've taken your secret sauce to places from that standpoint. And I think that's a good place to start. Let's talk about your commercial real estate, how you stepped into it. We've already mentioned you kind of started at JL, and kind of how has that evolved?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'll say, when people ask me to describe my background, where I am, I oftentimes use the term recovering workplace strategist. And I think it's important to ground the conversation in that, is because when I first had a desire to join commercial real estate, it was very much a fundamental, I think, office space buildings shaping an environment and a landscape are very interesting, and the people that are working in them and how they interact with the space are interesting. But as I've evolved and changed throughout my career, real estate is interesting, but what's cooler is learning about different companies and what makes them tick. And so first starting my career at JLL and later at CBRE, within a occupier strategist workplace guru mindset, basically meant I got to go in and study a bunch of organizations. And I would go out to Bluebell, Pennsylvania, to Unisys headquarters. I got to go to sexy places like, Cleveland. I got to go everywhere, right? I had to do time utilization studies. I went to Buffalo, New York, and literally went around these office floor plans. I guess might call them people warehouses at the time, and check, are they in their space? What are they doing? Are they collaborating? Are they eating? What are they doing? Right? So at a very, very granular level, started to study behaviors and patterns, and what are people actually doing, and then what does executives expect that they're doing, and then what do they collectively want the future to be? Yeah, like what is their vision, and how do they bring their vision and culture of what they aspire to be into the space? And a few, like, spoiler alert, people always wanted a better environment, and more spoiler alert, if you bring a whole bunch of people in a focus group, they're always going to have a problem with the heating or the air conditioning, just what happens, no matter where you are, right? But within that, as we started to define recommendations, we were focused on place, we were focused on culture, we were focused on technology, amenities, and services. Like, these are not new things. And we tried so hard to bring these recommendations and solutions to clients through a mean of different scenario modeling, right? Like, hey, you have a lease event coming up. You have an opportunity to study your people and really design an environment for the future. Or, like, you're underutilized, you need to rethink it. And we'd spend weeks and months in the data collecting and going so deep. And then at the end of the day, we would provide the client with a booklet of recommendations. Do you want to go conservative, moderate, or aggressive? Everyone wanted to go moderate. Let's just say that's where it is. And at the end of the day, then we'd move into new clients. And so the benefit through that learning and stories was, how to look at data, I guess, from the bottom and up, and use it to make decisions and trends and understand what's happening to an organization. The benefit was learning in depth of what makes an organization tick, and at leadership, and always the disconnect between where people believe they're spending their time and where they're actually spending their time. And it also made me throughout that journey, like, want more, right? So we would be painting this amazing vision for what the future could be, and then we'd move on to our next project. And so it wasn't until later on in my career I had the opportunity to actually lead our own workplace strategy at CBRE that helped transform the way we worked internally, that we actually got to put these recommendations into practice. And it was a game-changing, defining moment in my career, because I learned how hard change management is. Like, I learned how much where a person chooses to work embodies not just what they do, but who they are and who their connections are and what's important to them. And there's an ego play that's involved too, right? So in the past, and I was at JLL from 2006 to 2010, and CB from 2010 to 2018. During this mindset, like, people warehousing and a connection to space was still a huge part of who you identified as a person. So when we went to do this Workplace 360 program, we uncoupled people from space and said, great, we're going to do activity-based working, work wherever you want. And it was challenging, but a ton of lessons learned about what's the importance, what works well, what doesn't work well, how can be efficient, what truly matters as an incentive to draw people together.
That was really early and pretty, like, cutting edge at the time. I remember touring one of the locations in LA. It was probably, just looking at your timeline.
The location.
Yeah. Was amazing. I do remember whoever gave us the tour was like, yeah, not everybody likes it.
Not only did they not like it, they hated it, right?
Okay.
Let's be honest, because these high
we're losing Gio's audio
too.
Yeah, I think Gio's lost. We'll let him come back. While we're letting him come back, I also was thinking while you were talking, like, the whole, like, here's your binder of recommendations, and do they follow it? Do they not? And probably this, like, level of satisfaction when you go to WeWork and be like, this is what we have. You can buy it. Would you like to buy it? Kind of, it's built, and if you want it, you can have it, versus all the pain of the change management of, like, we think this is what you should want, but as Gio said, you hated it. And then to go to something where you can sort of build it and just sort of help people self-select into that environment had to be a really interesting shift. Wait, Gio, we lost you for a second. Did you want to comment?
Yeah, no, I mean, you finished it. I mean, ultimately going in and these high-powered brokers that basically work their way to a private office on the window line now have open space, and they have no desire to go in a day off or in a breakout room to work from. And so I still remember going into the CBRE office here in Dallas, and they're like, even the CEO sits in an open area. And it just, I mean, look at all the old white hairs that are trying to change their mind on flexible workspace right now, and take that into the brokerage world where these guys are making, and ladies are making $500,000, $1 million, $2 million, and they're sitting in the open area with their team. And it was a power thing for the longest time.
It was interesting. The inflection point for getting some change leaders on board was actually flying them out to Amsterdam. We flew them out because that's where some of the leading workplace environments were. Microsoft, not Unisys. We went to Oracle. We went to several. That was like, you guys don't know what we're experiencing, because what we're talking about actually hasn't been done in LA or within commercial real estate. We're going to get you completely out of your comfort zone, immerse you in this experience. And the amazing thing is, like, when you went up to the Microsoft office, like, it was just like you were like buzzing from the energy. It was amazing. They're like, hey, I want that. Give me some of that, right? And so that the whole experience, and now I think it's been rolled out over 75 locations globally, which is fantastic. So my career trajectory has gone from a consultative of, like, this is what we think you should do, to the implementing the whole process. We all know the arc of despair and the change curve, into a product and a solution. Buy it if you want it. It's all packaged here, by the way. It's pretty awesome. And then now I'm in an environment where we're doing advisory and then also technology. So kind of going around the whole sphere of impacting that employee experience. But the WeWork journey, to jump from that to WeWork, I was actually a flex leader at CBRE, trying to educate brokers and clients what flex was. This was about 5 or 6 years ago. And then at the time, started building really strong relationships. And I was visiting WeWork's headquarters. This is still the glory days. This is 2018, pretty fun. At the headquarters, where you get that still like the jolt, right? You go in, it's a jolt, and you're like, hey, you want in? This is pretty fun. So I can say without a doubt, throughout my whole career, the learnings from that 2-year stint, 2-year/20-year stint, impacted the way I think about work, the way I think about space, the way I view and value companies, in a positive way. And it was the ability to really think through, like, we're moving so fast, we're doing so many of these things. How do we move really fast and still translate what we're doing into a traditionally old industry, which is real estate, and educate those decision makers of how this fits into that comparison.
So ultimately, I mean, I think you went from JLL, CBRE, Colliers, right? So I think Cushman is the only big firm you haven't been at. Is that pretty accurate?
Makes me feel a little flighty.
No.
Yeah,
It's really the opposite, right? It's the fact that you're driving change and people want you, right? And I'll give you a great example. I mean, we've had at AY our CIO, Chief Innovation Officer, who really started at JLL, came to AY and has now jumped over to CBRE, right? And so the big joke there has been like, okay, now he's going to go start Avant 3.0 over there that he's been working on. And so, but that's the reality of it. I mean, I think there's multiple reasons why people are shift, right? Is because they're implementing new stuff in new places, or because they're not able to implement the things that they want to implement, right? And I think that's a big part of it at these large firms. Is it's hard to drive change when people don't want to change, right? So has that kind of been your experience, overall, as you've had different conversations inside of the organizations and outside the organizations that you've been a part of?
Completely. And, going from 100,000 person company and then 10,000, now I'm at 100 person company.
Yeah.
We change pretty quickly, and it's exhilarating and fun. And in all the right ways, not changing for change sake, but the ability to adapt, listen to clients, modify while still providing a high level of service. And autonomy has been super fun over the past year and a half.
Yeah. So what's been most exciting for you over the last 6 months that you've seen going on out there with the changing environment?
Well, it's been interesting. I have the fortune of working for Raise Commercial Real Estate. So Raise is a technology-enabled brokerage firm. So half of our business is the client team services side of the business, brokerage, workplace strategy, and project management. And then half is our technology arm. So it's project management, it's product management, not to be duplicated with project management, but our engineers, our data scientists that are all building the platform in which powers our client teams. And based on the fact that we're an 8-year-old company, a startup for all intents and purposes, and we're based in Silicon Valley and San Francisco, we work with a lot of tech companies. And what's amazing about that is we're not having to change a lot of aircraft carriers. We are adapting, and we provide a service and a technology that allows them to be nimble and to be fast. And what's been super interesting, we just had a summary of our Q1 report. Our brokers throughout the US, I think 40% of the transactions that we helped our clients in were flex. Another 16% were subleases. So we're obviously doing more flex, and we're doing more subleases than ever before. But at the same time, our clients are struggling with how do I do more with less? How do I have this intensive pressure from my executives to be more efficient as the world has shifted and changed? How do I use data and intelligence to make better decisions while still providing an environment that's inspiring and motivating to people? Like, good luck. That's a really hard job. So our clients have the hardest job that they've ever had, right? The most amount of pressure, and they're coming from all different avenues. And so I think what's been super interesting is I've been looking at the last 6 months and what our clients specifically are looking for. They're obviously, I think the term flight to quality is probably overused. Everyone's using it, the new collaboration. But if you're trying to bring people together, you really have to be thinking about it differently. And it's not just build it, they will come. Our companies, our clients that are bringing people together in a meaningful way have that change and those philosophies throughout the organization, have practices, behaviors, and technology in order to support it. And of course, couple that, like, everyone's doing some version of flex, which is exciting for me and for you.
So here's the curveball, right? That was your very good canned professional response. Now, what's your personal response? What excites you today?
Great question. And that was a little professional. It's hard for me not to turn on my.
No, I get it. And I think that's the fun part about what we get to do is we ask people questions that they're not used to answering, right? And so you're in the same boat as Jamie and Ryan and some of the others that we've had on that we've asked.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I think what's super interesting for me is just like there's never been as much choice. There's never been as much autonomy. And if you go back to where I said I originally came from, I love studying companies. I love studying what makes them tick. Like, one of my favorite field trips, this might sound a little boring, was going to Moen's headquarters. The faucet company? Moen was our client, and they actually invented hot water. They brought hot and cold together in a faucet for the first time. I went through their factory and I learned what made him tick and Mr. Moen and what he did and all this thing. And so that's a long way of answer. Like, if people have choice around when and how they're working, if they're all these spaces that are constantly competing for attention and all this technology that can enable, like, what is the future of culture and how does that manifest into, how we're thinking about it? Like, the whole AI conversation, like, is freaking blowing my mind right now, honestly. Like, I think what I'm most excited about is, like, where does that take form? I saw an interesting LinkedIn post that I'm sure everyone did that said, it's not AI that's going to take your job. It's the people that don't know AI that are going to be in trouble. So I think as it pertains to, it's a little scary, like, keeps me up at night. I'm like, I gotta pick up some more books, listen to some more podcasts. But I think that the world in which, like, from a professional way, the world in which people connect has never been more filled with choice, but creates increasing pressure on growing and creating an organization. We have an interesting client in San Francisco, and there are two ends of the spectrum. They have decided that they are going to allow their employees to have, it's 4 days in the office, 1 day out of the office. But the only day out of the office is Wednesdays. And Friday mornings is a mandatory in office, all hands at 9 a.m. You don't really see that, right? And so, right, like, Jamie's cringing over here.
No,
but this
I'm doing my facial expression.
Incredibly successful. Yeah, like that's like, it's an incredibly successful.
It's a good thing I don't sit in those client meetings. My poker face is not very good.
No, I mean, same. I've been called out for having the same telltale signs. Yeah, so I don't know. The AI stuff is like, I was actually just before this call, I talked about some of the stuff that Chief does. Chief had a futuristic view on AI today, and it just made me more nervous and excited about the future and what that actually looks like. Like one person on my team was drafting like a LinkedIn blog post, and they're like, man, I wish I could I'll just send it over to, Chat GPT and see what they come up with. And I'm like, what?
Well, you have to be careful.
I'm not even sure if I'm using the right terminology and saying
no, I love it. I totally love it. I am also new to it and fascinated and feel the same way. Like I need to learn it or somebody's gonna, take my job in quotes. So I have an 11-year-old daughter, and I had this intuition that if I introduced her to Chat GPT, I would create some sort of animal. She's very smart, but also very creative. And we all think our kids are brilliant, but so I'm in that camp. So two funny things. The first one, this morning, I was like, hey, what are you doing? Like before school, I'm making a website with ChatGPT. Like she's got this coding screen up with a bunch of code on it. She's like, well, she's selling watches on her website, and she's asking ChatGPT to create like the shopping cart for her, and it does it. And I'm just like, oh my God, what's happening?
I mean, and this is 11.
He's 11.
This is what makes me be like, oh my gosh, this is exciting.
Although here's my
crazy and terrifying all at once.
Here's my cautionary ChatGPT story. So she takes extra math classes because I live in the Bay Area, and that's what we do here. I'm not too crazy, but you know what? One of our dad friends said, look, if you have the opportunity to get your female kid really confident in math, do it. Why would you not, right? Don't have them be like the girl in class who's afraid to raise her hand. She knows the question and she's confident. So I was like, all in. So anyway, she has this homework that I cannot help her with. So it's this word problem. I'm like, let's ask ChatGPT. So, I'm like, should I not? We had the whole like ethical conversation. Well, I ask it the question and I'm like, oh, okay, now I see how to solve the problem. Except at some point I was like, there's something about this that's not quite right. And so I say, that doesn't seem right. Can you explain how you got Y, like the variable, and it was like, whoops, sorry, we actually got that wrong. Here's the right answer. It says ChatGPT. I was like, what? Oh my God.
Wow, they can even admit when they're wrong.
So, right, it knew it was wrong and said, whoops, I'm sorry. And I asked it for time zone. I needed to schedule a meeting with someone in New Zealand the other day. First, it told me we were 17 hours apart, and then it told me we were 20 hours apart. I was like, what's happening? Okay. So be careful. It's not totally.
So works.
Yeah, but totally. It did.
But it's like, how is technology going to even change us even further? So if going back to like, I love how companies work, what is the future and how are we gonna play a role?
Yeah.
For the record, this ripe old man at 44 had to Google Chat GPT to be honest. I've heard of it, but I haven't really taken a deep dive into it. And so it's now y'all are gonna send me down a rabbit hole of Google.
Good. I know it's a whole nother language, but
it's fascinating. I love talking about it because it's so fascinating. Yeah, it's like good cocktail conversation. Anyway, well, I love the choice. So is Raise a fully remote organization?
No, we're not. So it depends on. So our client teams are based in the cities in which we're servicing our clients. So we're in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, LA, Denver, and New York. And our client team, we believe it's called Better Together. And we are moving so quickly and we are so nimble that we're making an emphasis on being there. However, we have these amazing engineers and data team members that we've hired regardless of location. So, there's an amazing team member who's in Wyoming and he's, by himself, but we, on a quarterly basis, we'll bring them all together in hackathons. Actually, our next hackathon, the topic is AI. And when you get a bunch of engineers in a room together, what they can accomplish in like 48 hours, like blows my mind. Our last hackathon, I do a lot of revenue forecasting in what I do. And so the engineers are like, okay, let me go through your spreadsheets and understand like your methodology and when deals change status and all of this thing. In 48 hours, they created their project, which was called Best Bot. No kidding. And it was predicting when a deal would close based on these different stage gates. And they created an algorithm to predict the rest of our deals. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so over my skis and so impressed at the same time. So I'll have to report back. It's happening in New York in May. So
Oh, that sounds amazing. See, Geo, you need a GeoBot.
No.
GeoBot. I was shocked. I was a guest judge, and I didn't know this was even happening. And they're like, "And the next project, Beth Bot," and I was like, "What?"
You win.
Way cool. The Beth Bot. No, the Beth Bot was way cooler than me personally. But the other thing that we do, because there are all these people that are coming together and in different backgrounds, to different organizations, we've been known to throw an offsite or two. Our offsite was in April. It was at a dude ranch in Northern California called the Greenhorn Ranch. There was horseback riding, archery, mountain biking, fishing, hiking, you name it. We didn't do the work. We connected with each other. And actually, my favorite part of that was on night 2, we had a karaoke night. It's like, we don't all know each other. And you're like, who is gonna be the first person? Who's gonna be the first? There was Giselle from engineering got up. The very first song of the night was 8 Mile by Eminem. Or not 8 Mile, Lose Yourself. Lose Yourself.
By the Eminem. Like, yeah.
That's what started it. You had people that had been in the commercial real estate industry for 25 years singing Sweet Caroline. You had everything. Yeah. And it was like, what an amazing way to get to learn people and bring all the fun out. So if you're not afraid to sing in front of all of your peers, like, you're going to be able to work together. So regardless of whether you're in the office or you're apart, like, you have these foundational moments where you're brought together in an informal setting, which is really important for our culture.
Okay, so that begs the question, Beth, what is your karaoke song?
Well, it's funny you should ask. I don't have a karaoke song. The reason why is because when I'm on stage, I've sang songs and people afterwards have said, that's a really tough song to sing. So that's not so good. But there are a few WeWork alums that were with me. So we sang Katy Perry Roar.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That was ours.
I also prefer group settings for karaoke. The band approach. Yeah.
Exactly. The best.
So that's just so interesting, because lifestyle cities is really where things are headed these days, right? When we look at the Boise's, the Nashvilles, the Denvers, and so on, there's so many opportunities from a growth standpoint in these, because that's where people are going, right? The ability to work from anywhere. But basically what you just brought up was a lifestyle company, right? Is it allows for you to go enjoy the things you like, enjoy being around people you like. Is what drew you to what made Ray so unique that they could draw someone with your background to it? What caught your eye?
I had to sell myself to them for I wanted to work there, and I need to rephrase that. I really wanted to work there, and the reason I did is I saw the fundamentals in commercial real estate, which has been my whole background, my career. But they were doing something different, and the way that they were working was much more akin to the technology organization than it was a commercial real estate. And that's what I had the really unique advantage at WeWork, where I worked with some people from real estate, but I worked with a ton of SaaS salespeople, and I learned a ton. And at the end of the day, after I left, I was like, do I go into SaaS sales, which was or real estate? And so this was like the unique combination of being that culture and that way that people are driving decisions, but also still anchored in fundamentals that I knew and was proud of. And as you guys know, commercial real estate, the way people go in provision space, it's funny you mentioned Jamie in a previous podcast. I always think the best way, and I have this vivid memory in my head of a first page of maybe a pitch deck for one of their first rounds of funding, and it was a diagram. And the diagram was, you are a business owner, head of real estate, and you need to, you just secured funding. You know, what do you do, right? You work with HR, you come up with your headcount projections, then you go out and survey the market, you interview 5 brokers, then you go out, you survey the market. By the time you select the location that you want, the survey is outdated, it's the space is leased, go down to step 1. And I mean, it went through the whole page of the process, all the way to like, figure out which printer to use, what type of snacks do you want, like open after making all these decisions, you've run out of space, revert to step 1, right? And I said, or it was like, or just call us. And what I loved about it is they were able to visually show how exhausting a commercial real estate process can be. And oftentimes within a company, like people are voluntold that they have to do real estate now, right? Like they might be the chief people officer and they're like, real estate, you handle that now, go get this. And it's like, what? You know, I need a master's class in how to work through this process to get that. So I tend to do long stories to get to the end point, but long story short is I looked at a process like that where everyone is doing this whole same process. Can there be a way in which we're using technology to do what it's best in the world at, which is create transparency, streamline processes, get voted up decisions, and have a digital paper trail of where and why and how you've made these decisions to arm you for the future, right? And so we spend time with our clients on utilizing the technology, but because our clients are coming in at all different angles, veteran commercial real estate leader to, I was just voluntold and I was someone's chief of staff last week. We also spend a lot of time building a community, we're going to get back to chief, of these different leaders and bringing them together to learn, evolve, and grow, and create a safe space where it's scary making these big decisions. Right. You don't know if you're making the right one for the company. So if I can call 3 friends and say, hey, what'd you do? How did this work? And I bring these data points into my board of directors, I'm going to do. I hope the outcome's more accessible, and I'm able to accelerate more. So it's a unique. I spent a lot of time with our CEO and our CRO trying to understand what was interesting about them, and I'd be like, oh, what are you guys doing for Flex? Do you have a position? You know, I could help you there. Or like, hey guys, how are you thinking about enterprise users? Have you thought about your sales strategy or forecasting strategy? I could help there. And finally, they were probably like, hey, I am exhausted.
Stop emailing us.
And I was like, can I write a job description? And they said, sure. And, you know, we've been happy ever since. Like, it's evolved and changed, but it's been a really fun journey with really great people. And as our CEO always says, turning an industry we love into an industry we're proud of, because we're evolving and changing. So it's pretty fun.
So tenacity is
occasionally karaoke. Doesn't hurt.
Tenacity is definitely a skill set. How's that?
There you go.
I'll wear you down.
I'll wear you down, please. Please, can I work there, please?
So who in your childhood was most vital in helping kind of you become who you are today?
Great question. So this is kind of funny because I've lived in my professional career post-college. I've lived in Chicago, New York, London, and LA. But I grew up in a ranch in Colorado, and we had buffalo. Kind of crazy. And my parents were both entrepreneurs. My dad owned a construction company, and then this bison thing was a hobby. And my mom was a master gardener and had a greenhouse business. And I was an only child. And as my dad often told me, you know, you're here for extra help. Like, you're basically a ranchian. That's your job, right? So, so the defining like work ethic was instilled on me from a very young age. I was able to also see like the entrepreneurial spirit of like, you can have a dream and you can make it come true if you work hard enough in order to do that. I also learned that I didn't want to be helping my dad build fences for my life, and that I have to think differently. And so the second person that was critical in my future, I was also a bank teller from the age of 16 or 15, which I don't know if is that allowed
legal?
anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do people let babies count money? I don't know. But it was for a community bank. I did lose $1,000 one time, and I found it, but very scary.
Oh no.
So I was like, this is a whole year's worth of pay. So we had a bank president there, and he was kind of a mentor of mine. And it said, I was like, I don't know which path. I like math. I like real estate. It's like, go get a finance degree. You'll be able to do a lot with a finance degree. And as I was in college, I also was a loan administrator at the same bank doing commercial construction loans. And I was like, oh, I love this. Like, I love real estate. I love all this. So it brought back like the construction from like my father in my past, and then my way to apply that from a business sense. But yeah, I mean, I grew up in an untraditional setting, but it's definitely shaped who I am. My whole family's from Wisconsin, farmers. I'm a cheesehead. I'm a heritage cheesehead, and my mother's side is all doctors and nurses. So it's been an interesting journey. But I have 3 boys of my own. They're
all boys. Do you know what? I pictured you with all little girls for some reason. You got 3 boys. Whoa.
I have three boys. So my current scheme right now is to figure out how to introduce more manual labor into their lives and how to introduce farm animals.
Back to the ranch.
So
back to the ranch.
That's the foundation I'm trying to bring.
So what did y'all do with the bison?
Meat. So the funny thing is, so my dad had this construction job, and knowing that he had a farm background, the construction job was he was a blaster. So my dad would blast for in the mountains for like roads and for foundations. And he did a job for this ranch, and they're like, okay, I can pay you in cash or give you livestock. My dad's like, I'll take the livestock, which is totally inappropriate because there were 3 little buffalo calves. And so it was a hobby, and then it grew into, okay, well, let's have a meat business. But I remember being 11 or 12 at the dinner table. My dad informed me we were eating Buffy that evening for dinner. Mm-hmm. And a whole different mindset. But it's amazing. The bison or American buffalo, they're amazing animals. Also scary as hell.
Would they do they get mad?
Oh yeah, like if they can get mad in small quarters. We also had a bottle-fed baby buffalo that we adopted as an orphan, and so he slept on our back porch. Thought he was a dog.
Oh my God!
It's all,
That's hilarious.
Yeah, kind of crazy.
So it's funny that you So Jamie, you and I don't think I've ever actually had this conversation in depth. So yesterday I took a mental health day, and actually spent all day at a ranch, high fence ranch, and actually harvested a buffalo. So a bison. It was a young bison, so 450 pounds on the hoof. So it was they're majestic, incredible animals. But harvest 200 pounds of incredible grass-fed beef. Right. So it was a ton of fun, but I mean, they're incredible animals just sitting there, like the pack. I mean, the herd bull, 1,200 pounds easily.
Oh yeah.
Right. And easy. So, I mean, just sitting there watching and interacting to some extent with them, watching them in themselves. I mean, it's just, and learning about it, right? Obviously you experienced it in a way that but it was an awesome opportunity.
Wow.
Yeah, that is so timely.
Yeah.
Wow, that is so cool. I love it.
Oh, Gio's frozen again. I grew up on a farm with cows, not bison, but cows. Yeah, dairy farm. So I can relate to the whole lots of manual labor as a child. And I was like, same thing, very entrepreneurial dad, but being like, yes, and that is not the form that my entrepreneurial spirit will take. That is way too much work. I was thinking the other day, my dad worked 6 days a week and he would kind of take Saturday off, but 6 days. Well, because animals, I don't know, your bison might have been more passive income, but my dad had to milk the cows every single day. Yeah, crazy. Oh, Gio's still stuck.
It's crazy. Well, at least he's stuck in a smile.
Yeah, he was stuck in a very nice facial expression. You're totally right. He'll pop back in. We'll have to ask him where the heck he is since he's like on the bison farm. Do your parents still have the ranch?
It's still in the family. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's been fun to see that evolve and change. And I remember when I decided I'm going to move to New York, like my parents were like, "What do you mean you're going to move to New York? Like, we'll come and visit you a couple times and that's it."
Not commute, complete commute. No, my parents are the same way. They've actually, yes, they're homebodies, right? They don't relate to cities. Well, so you could send your boys there for the summer. Ranch camp.
Yep. There you go. There you go. That's the one way to do it.
Yeah. It's a great way to grow up, which is very hard to replicate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. And that's where, when, and also my mom's business, she had a greenhouse. So it's like, there was always the mantra in my house is there's always work to do. There's always work to be done. So like you can be transplanting plants or, feeding an animal or doing the other things. It was just, I have a hard time sitting still now because of it. It's just sometimes problematic.
So too. Yes. I was actually, so Gio's a big Enneagram fan. Do you ever follow the Enneagram at all? It's one of the kind of personality. Yeah. And I was thinking about like whether it's like a nature nurture thing. I am a 3 and 3s like cannot, like I was thinking about Juicy next week and I was like, I'm super interested in most of the sessions. I cannot sit all day. I will feel like I'm not being productive. Being productive is like this inherent, and I'm sure it's from growing up to your point, like on a farm, there's always something to do. We do not really like, there's no day of rest. And I was thinking, I think a lot of that is like nurture, like the environment of growing up, like with a dad who's a farmer and that kind of thing. But I was like, what should I do during these sessions? Should I write a book? Like,
I love it.
Well, that's why y'all are high achievers, right? Is because you have an incredible work ethic because it was ingrained in you.
I think
right?
so. Yeah.
We'll take that compliment. Thank you, Tia.
No, I mean, that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
So by the way, the non-hunting chat bot, iBot kicked me off of Wi-Fi because it did not like my harvesting conversation.
I see.
It must be a California bot.
Censoring you.
Yeah, must be.
Oh my gosh, you're too funny. Okay, what else do we want to know from Beth before we release her back to her beautiful cheese? Does she do food and beverage?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a bar over the left shoulder.
That's what it's looking like to me. Can you get lunch there? Or beautiful.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like sandwiches, salads, light bites, and there's a bar back there, and they have different events, like they'll have a breakfast and happy hour and other ways to bring people together. And everyone's so friendly. Like you get put in these different groups and they're just like, hi, this is who I am, and let me learn about what you do and what makes you tick.
So people want to engage generally. It's that's their mindset.
Yeah, which is helpful because it's always awkward, when you're going. It's not a big convention center where everyone's wearing pleated khaki pants and drinking Michelob Ultras. Like it's not that setting. It's much more.
Michelob Ultras.
We need to get her back to the GWA conference in February.
We'll
I'd love to come.
Work on that.
Now that I know she actually exists and she's not a
phantom
unicorn that's Bethbot or we'll make sure to get her back. So I do have a question. So in your action with all these enterprise executives, I mean, are you seeing them actually come around on understanding where we're headed from a hybrid workplace, because it just seems like we're all over the place. And you know, like I'll give you Amy's example. I mean, they let go most of their enterprise team, right? And so
Wait, who is
a
this?
lot of
Who let go most of their enterprise team?
Jamie
Oh, Industrious.
with
Yeah.
Industrious.
Yeah.
And I know several of the other groups have too. And so they've kind of said that it was like there's a lot of interest from enterprise. Problems kind of swinging back the other way. What are you experiencing in your conversations?
Well, it's interesting kind of going back to that, the role of the head of real estate is more different and complex than ever before. Like also these jobs internally at large organizations, like you'll have head of, hybrid, you'll have head of like chief vibe officer, or whatever they are, right? So
yeah.
I think what's different about the past and the future is the past, like you could only go to a curated product in order to get this overall experience. And just like all landlords are like, I think I can do flex. I think a lot of these large corporate enterprise users are like, I think I can do with experience, right? So it doesn't mean that they're going to be doing it in the same level or the same degree, but I think now they're understanding if they're going to have their own spaces, they're going to have to up their game in experience and hospitality and amenities. And they're also just taking shorter terms, right? So like the market, and depending on where you are in the US, like the sublease market could be the very overly saturated, right? So I think in the past, it was like you get a 10-year lease or you can do a flex space for a year to 5 years. Everything shifted, right? So now landlords are offering shorter terms. Now there's a lot of sublease opportunities in the market. So enterprises can get what they need without having the only route to go through as a flex operator. I just think it's a kind of a buyer's market right now. A lot of choice and flexibility out there, which is I think why some of these larger operators are like, okay, let's keep the main thing, focus on our core business, and reduce friction where we can. As you know, as we started in the middle of the conversation, like it's really hard to move a cruise ship, right? Like this. And so we're like, do we want to spend all of our time in the change management, convincing them why this option is better? Or do we want to go through, SMB customers where we know we'll be able to have doubles all day long? So I think the market's changing. I think the supply options are out there, and like the change management, the friction, if you're not on board now with knowing flex and experience are part of your strategy, good luck attracting the talent that knows how to use GBT to create a shopping cart for their watch company.
Well, like your client who's like mandatory all hands, 9 a.m. Friday morning.
Yeah.
Feels, yeah, that's it. But I mean, I think to Gio's point, it's like, well, what's happening? Right. Are they, is it all talk, no action?
I think the hard thing is when you don't take a stand. I think that's incredibly challenging for middle managers to know what to do. And that's where you create a lot of have and have nots within an organization, because you could be at the same level and have different degrees of autonomy and trust. And it's all how their manager interprets what they should be doing. So I think whatever your strategy is, if you're clear and direct, and most importantly, it's a direct tie to what you're trying to do as a business, then it's easier to get people on board. It's easier to get people to be happy and satisfied with the direction that you're choosing. It's the uncertainty that causes unrest, I think. Personally.
Yeah, and I think as they get more confident with where we're headed, and I mean that's the reality, is we're in uncharted waters, right? And so I think a lot of them are following the lead of other executives, right? And so it'll be interesting to see as more I guess factual evidence. Back to your going in and counting seats, right? Now we've got sensors and we got card readers. We have all kinds of really strong information off of. Have you ever connected with Brandon with Validate?
Of course. Love Brandon. I actually did a consulting project with Brandon when I was between gigs for we're doing it for a bridge investment group. Yeah, love those guys. They also speak a different language, like ChatGPT.
Totally.
It is. It's like sitting there watching a beautiful mind work, right?
Yes,
but
totally.
Right.
But I have so much appreciation for what they do. Yes.
Totally. Right. You would have been at WeWork, probably kind of similar overlap time.
Oh, that's right. I didn't think about that. Kevin,
he actually worked with my husband. Him and Kevin worked. My husband also worked at.
Wait, your husband was at WeWork too?
Oh, you didn't know that?
At the same time.
Yeah.
Same time, same boss.
Oh. Wait, what does your husband do?
Now he's in a completely different field. He just launched a search fund to own and operate a business. But he was part of the real estate advisory group that did all the underwriting for all the large enterprise deals with Brandon and the crew. So yeah, it was fun. I was on the sales side, and then his team actually had to see if we could underwrite the deal that our sales team sold.
Got it.
Never friction at home, ever.
Totally. That's so funny. I know that was, we will wrap, but that, I do think that whole time I was like, I don't buy what they're selling over there, but they have attracted some world-class talent. I mean, such an interesting time, you know, you'll always probably value just like crazy, but so interesting and exciting, and just a real tipping point for the workspace industry.
Totally. And I think the number one thing I took away from it is the WeWork network. These people are everywhere doing everything. And it's been incredible to see how their different journeys spawned off of from that.
Yeah. You'll probably keep winding back across people from your time there. Well, thank you for taking the time to do this. It was fantastic to connect and get to learn more about your background and your perspective, and get a little chief download. So yeah, hopefully we'll see you in real life at an industry event soon.
Sneak me in the back door, you know?
Totally sneak in the back.
Love to be in, when you guys are going to be in Chicago next week.
Yeah, we'll definitely reach out and make sure that we connect. Hopefully when we're there.
Yeah. Thanks for doing it.
Thank you for the time.